to 42. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet as a prophet will receive the prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person as a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And if anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, truly I tell you, that person will certainly not lose their reward.
Wouldn't be me, would it be, without that? You know, a little bit of a thing to start us off. I'm using yellow. Lovely to see you all. Hello to my friends from Sweden. Give them a round of applause. They came all this way to celebrate Steve being 70. So they're good friends to us. We are so glad you're here. Please do have a chat with them afterwards. And it's brilliant. And thanks to Nathan and Rebecca for giving me this particular verse. Brilliant. It's really lovely to see you all. Here's little challenge for you. Can anyone tell me what these things are? What do you think we're looking at in those pictures? Anyone know what the thing is on the left? Oh, good guess. Middle? Someone said coffee. Any other guesses? Stumped. What about the one on the end, one on the right? You think it's a cello? Here you go. Oh, got you with the, what is it called? Yeah, one of them. Keeps the spiders away. What about this word? Can you tell me anyone who shows resilience? Anyone at all? Someone famous from the history of the world? Nelson Mandela, what a fine example. Yep. Anyone else? Sorry if you didn't want to participate. It's like Martin Luther King, yeah. Alan Bates, yeah, post office. Mahatma Gandhi, sorry. Zora Mandani. Anyone got any relatives that have shown resilience? Fighting like cancer and Adolf Hitler. Yeah, thanks for that. Did you notice when I said the word Adolf Hitler, what happened in the room? It's a shift. Drug dealers are resilient. Here's the thing, and this is really important, and Steve talked about this the other day when he spoke in this series. It's so important for us to not just do snapshots where we think we know what we're looking at and draw conclusions. And it's really, really, really important that we don't just pick on particular words and think we know what they mean. Words find their meaning in the context in which they are found. So to take out this verse, I have come not to bring peace, but a sword. You take that verse out of context and we can end up in a really weird place. A place that does not reflect the arc of anything else that Jesus teaches about. We have to see differently in order to think differently. And we have to think differently in order to see differently. And when we isolate texts, which is a real danger, when we isolate text or texts, pulling it out of its context. Oh, Martin Luther King, he was resilient. Yeah, but so was Adolf Hitler. Nelson Mandela, yeah, but so are drug dealers. When we pull things out of context and we think we understand what those words mean, if we aren't curious, we can literally make a verse mean what we want it to mean. Because 6 degrees out becomes 60. Some of you may have seen this. There's a video to accompany this from the Department of War and the American government. And you can see some of the images. And the language over it is, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom." You can watch it on the internet. But it's very easy for us because we can make politicians easy picking, can't we? We can interpret, you and I, just as anyone can, anything to support our beliefs. Confirmation bias is when we see what we want to see. When we expect what we expect to see. And desirability bias is when we see what we want to see. And so we end up missing the point. And so this verse, which Rebecca and Nathan so kindly gave me, I think has been used to justify division, war, violence, othering. But it's about us and our everyday lives. But let's helicopter out a little bit to get a wider view. Because a word out of its context, we can make mean anything. So let's get a wider view. Let's helicopter up to get to under the skin, to go a little bit wider. So Pax Romana was this idea of peace. Peace, Roman peace, the peace of Rome, Roman rule. And it was achieved and maintained by military might. It was achieved by the sword. That's literally how it came about. It was the type of peace that required an enemy. So in this context, this language around swords and all the rest of it was very like it was in the thinking. But it was the type of peace that was maintained through violence, and it was the type of peace that absolutely required an enemy. And in essence, you complied or you died. That was it. And so living under the Pax Romana, where the engine of the empire was slavery, so the kind of the way the economics worked, the success of the Roman Empire was built on enslavement of people, where you had to worship the emperor who was deified, which is why at the end of the Lord's Prayer, it says, For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. That was a nod. That was a nod to Rome saying, no, 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 no. We worship Jesus. We follow the way of Jesus. We are here to worship God, not the emperor. If you look in the original text that we look at when we read the Bible, it's not there. This was something that was added as a response to this empire. Living under Pax Romana was about imposition of taxes. Life was short, it was brutish, and it was nasty. And then the religious leaders of the time talked about, well, you could have peace with God through sacrifice. It was not about grace. It was actually all about ungrace. People were in or out. You were unclean. You were a sinner. You were on the margins, which is why when Jesus talked about the parable of the Good Samaritan, it was so shocking because everything about it was a complete disruption by Jesus, a complete reordering of everything that everyone believed. He was completely flipping on its head the values of the context and the culture that he was in. So when Jesus uses this language of not peace but a sword, his hearers would have recognized, oh, those symbols, we recognize that. We clock that. But the meaning wasn't as expected. Jesus was using a metaphor. But something else is going on. This chapter 10 in Matthew, is a turning point in the story of Jesus and his disciples. I don't know if you know what else happens in this chapter, but at the beginning of the chapter, does anyone know what happens at the beginning? This is a terrible question. It's like the answer's Jesus, but somebody like will say, I just make something up. That basically calls the 12 followers to him, and he tells them, right, now what you're going to do is you're going to start going off and doing this stuff that I've been doing, saying, and telling you about it. Jesus is inviting, at this turning point in Matthew, his followers to go from being hearers of the word to becoming doers of the word. This is a massive shift. They've been like those good kids who've listened to all the talks. You know, they've got all the talks, they've read all the books, they've listened to all the great podcasts that have been done. I do a podcast with Steve as well. It's also probably not great, but we love it. But you can listen. It's on all platforms. It's called Different with Steve Chalk and Jill Rowe. They've got all the books. They've read everything. They've nailed it all. And Jesus says to them, right, now's the time. Now's the time. When I was a kid, I used to love pretending to drive. I was always jealous of anyone who had those, anyone who's old enough to remember this. You used to be able to get, I don't know if you can still get them actually, but like a sticky thing that would stick on the back of the passenger seat with a steering wheel and a fake, indicators, and you could mimic this. I could mimic the sound of an engine, right? You could do a gear change with your voice. It was brilliant. I could do all of that stuff. And then I had to learn to drive. And it's not the same. It's a completely different exercise. Loving the idea of it, the fun of it, the joy of it, being able to make noises about it was brilliant. But actually learning how to do it was a completely different exercise. There's some rubbish on the floor. I found this in the bin. I think that might not have meant to be in the bin, but Ethan put it in there. Like when you see rubbish on the floor and you're like, oh, look, some rubbish. Someone should come along and pick that up. That's interesting rubbish. That's someone, yeah, like that shouldn't. I tell you what, the people who drop litter are terrible people. Yeah, that's rubbish. It's interesting rubbish, but someone should do something about that. We should call the council. It's their job. People who drop litter are terrible people. The council should really come along and do something about us. Up to this point, Jesus has been telling his disciples all about how things should be. In our academies, in our Oasis academies sometimes, and I'm walking around our schools with our head teachers, you literally walk along with them and they're doing this. They're taking responsibility. They're picking up the litter. They're not just hearers of what they should be doing. They're doers of what they should be doing. Up to this point, Jesus is the person who has been healing, restoring, teaching, showing. And then in verse 9 of chapter 10, he goes, right, go and do it. Go and do it. You be healers and restorers. You go and be with the sinners and the unclean. You be the life bringers. You be the love showers. And then in verse 16 to 23, remember we said you can't take a verse out of context. We need to understand the context of this one verse that we've just picked on. In verse 16 through to 23, he talks to them about you're going to be like sheep among wolves. He starts to warn them. Following this teaching, going and being restorers, going and being people who include others, going and actually being the people that love and bring peace, will be like being amongst wolves. People will oppose you. People don't like that stuff. It will be like a sword. It is like disruption. And then he says, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Does anyone know what this is? Anyone seen this image? Anyone know what it's called? It's called Fearless Girl. Fearless Girl. And it was made by an artist and it was placed in front of the Bull of Wall Street in New York. It's this little girl. It's called Fearless Girl. And she stands there fearless. This sacred act of resistance. Standing against something. Don't be afraid, Jesus says. It's going to be like being like sheep amongst wolves' clothing, because the stuff that I have been saying, which you now need to go and do, will bring disruption. It's like a sword. Live this way, do these things, but you will be sacred resistance, because what matters is allegiance to this way of love. Jesus is always establishing the kingdom of God. Love your enemies, forgive others, welcome and include those different to you. Be unrelentingly loving. Grace upon grace, make peace, let go of power, go to the margins, so the margins are removed. The coming of this kingdom is a sword. It's disruptive. It's unsettling. And it is divisive. But Jesus goes on in the bit that Ed read to us to remind his followers that they are part of a legacy of disruption. Brother will betray brother, and a father his child is an echo of what they would have already heard from the prophet Micah, chapter 7, verse 6, where it says, "For a son dishonors a father, a daughter rises up against her mother." There was an echo. Oh, we're part of a story of always bringing disruption. This way of love is like a sword because it is disruptive. It disrupts what exists. Jesus betrays institutions of family, religion, power, and resource control by his loyalty to a different world vision, that of the kingdom of God. So loving others as yourself will divide. Loving others as yourself will make you unpopular. But Jesus' teaching is not being divisive for the sake of being divisive. It's because it's received that way. It creates a lack of peace and brings the presence of disruption. Why is that? Let me tell you about me. This teaching is a direct challenge to my self-interest and my ego. It's a direct challenge to me believing I'm right. It's a direct challenge to my refusals sometimes to forgive and to love, or to let go of revenge or my anger. And it is like a sword in me. It's disruptive. I didn't come to bring peace. Jesus came to bring this disruption. Without that disruption, we simply don't change. We simply don't change. And we can't build on our lack of love. It just creates more dysfunction. We can't build a new way of love and peace on the old dysfunction of revenge and ungrace. Richard Rohr talks about this in his new book, that actually the love of God, the movement of God, the way of Jesus is about taking us from order to disorder and to reorder. Do you know, every conflict I have ever been a part of with a person has always begun at the smallest thing. Someone annoys me. I'll tell you the process. Has anyone ever been annoyed by someone? Someone annoys me, so I'm pretty skilled at, we're not going to engage with them now. So then this distance appears between me and them. And then there's this really clever thing we do where we get people on our side. We create a team against this other person. They're an idiot. Do you think they're an idiot as well? They're wrong, aren't they? I'm right. It's their fault, isn't it? Someone else can deal with them. I can't be bothered. And then Jesus says, but I say to you, can you feel like the disorder that's coming? But I say to you, oh, blessed are the merciful. Leave your act of worship and go and be reconciled. You've heard it said, don't murder, but I tell you, anyone that's angry with their brother or their sister. Anyone here ever been angry? Like, this is so a sword, isn't it? But it's what is needed to get us to peace. This is a turning point. This is a turning point. To have peace, we have to deal with that which feels like a sword. I think it's why Jesus said, be born again. There needs to be a new you. You can't just let it leave it festering in you and imagine that it's all going to be okay. Be born again, a new you, a new creation. You have to exercise it. You have to not just be hearers of the word, but you have to be doers of the word. You've got to really practice this stuff when everything in you is saying, but I deserve to feel this way about that. Jesus says, blessed are the merciful. So maybe we've othered others and made them enemies. Maybe there's someone we need to forgive. Maybe I need to stop grasping at power. Who do I need to make peace with? This verse was never, ever about the justification of violence or creating division. It was the complete opposite. Jesus was speaking directly to who we are, knowing it would disrupt, and saying, go and be doers of the word, healers, restorers, helpers, peace builders. And when you do it, don't be afraid. May not make you the most popular person, but don't be afraid. Go and make peace. Go and reach out. Go and be love. Your kingdom come. How do we show up in times of othering and blaming and a lack of peace? We aren't just hearers of the word. We don't just read the books and listen to the podcasts and know the Bible verses. We are doers of the word. When I was growing up, I went to an Anglican church. And every Sunday at communion, we would share the peace. And some people can perhaps be a little, every week, seriously. But it was a really powerful thing for me every week. There's all these people in this church, and there was conflict, obviously, because they're humans together. And you would see people make peace with one another. Fearless girl. Don't be afraid. Be hearers of the word. Great. Be doers of the word. Make peace. Don't be afraid. So may the way of peace be your way.
Thanks, Joe. In a moment, I'm going to invite you, if you would like to share the piece. If that's not something you're comfortable with, then please just remain seated, close your eyes, and people will know that's not for you. But if you would like to, I would just like to give you that opportunity to greet each other and let's share peace as a community. As we do, the welcome team are also going to come and give you a piece of paper ready for our prayers. But as we haven't had our moment of chaotic peace sharing today, we're going to do that now. So please do share the peace with each other.